Elden Ring is coming soon. We don't exactly know when, but it is coming. And with it, there's bound to be some familiar mechanics from games prior. Invasions are still not quite confirmed, but they have been heavily suggested. Today, I wanted to address a specific issue that has been plaguing invasions since 2016. In fact, this issue goes further back with the previous games, but this problem has only grown exponentially in Dark Souls 3. Co-invaders. I understand that there's this undeniable urge to want to win an invasion. The feeling of winning some invasions is unmatched by anything else. And hell, it's rather simple to type how to win invasions into YouTube and pick from the many videos that will point you down to the right path. Archstava and PvP Skills have a video about it. Ouroboros has one, Fighter PL, Chase the Bro, The Game Economist, the list goes on. The majority of these videos might have you thinking that all you need is a strong build with the best weapons and maybe a parry shield or a cestus in order to quote-unquote win. And while having a strong build will certainly help and work against the large number of solo hosts out there, what happens when you meet two players who know better? What happens when you meet three players who definitely know how to press R1 at just the right time in order to stun lock you to death? And what happens when you meet four players, a full-on gank squad, and you only have a cleared level and one fellow invader as backup? Having the right numbers in your stats and the proper gear on your character is only half the battle. And unfortunately for you, the other half is going to require that you have a controller and a little bit of a brain in order to use it. Now, I understand this is a lot to ask for in this economy and from this gene pool, but please, for the sake of your sanity and for the future of this community, please hear what I'm about to tell y'all right now. This is how to be a co-invader. I'm going to lay out what you should expect and need to do in a co-invasion so that when you're placed into a world with another Dark Spirit or Covenant Invader on your side, you can have a much higher chance at succeeding together. What I'm about to teach you isn't exclusive to Dark Souls 3 either. You can take this knowledge straight into Dark Souls 1, 2, Bloodborne, and here's hoping, even Elden Ring. And understand this, you don't have to be a good player with a min-max, sweaty, try-hard, constant disappointment to your parents' build in order to be a good co-invader. Sometimes just your presence can make an invasion turn for the better. Don't believe me? Let's talk about it. Actually, first things first, we need to do some spring cleaning. Let's get one thing straight here, just so that everybody knows. You can have whatever build you want. If you want to have a build that does the most damage in the short amount of time, or you want to put on armor and weapons, not because they're the best, but because they look cool, that's fine. You can do whatever your heart desires, because this game allows you to do just that. But please, oh please, whatever you put into Vigor, do not be afraid of having more Vigor. 27 Vigor is a good amount of health, I'll admit it. You get 1000 HP unembered, and that amount of health really does help, albeit only for the early parts of the game. The moment you get to level 50 or so, and you've just reached Pontiff Sullivan, or the Profane Capital, or even the Archives, 27 should not remain the stopping point. 27 ought to scarcely even be considered the minimum. You should be trying to reach 35, or even 40 Vigor at higher levels, such as soul level 60 or above. There are also 3 rings that boost your health, and all of them are rather simple to obtain. The Life Ring, Ring of Favor, and Prisoner's Chain. The Life Ring you can spawn with at the beginning of the game. It ups your health by 7%. Even if you didn't choose it as a gift, you can buy it from the Shrine Handmaiden after giving her the Dream Chaser Ashes, which you can find near the Old Wolf of Farron bonfire. You can then acquire the Ring of Favor from defeating the 2 Aldrich dogs in the Water Reserve. A tough encounter to be sure. This is also in Covenant Invader territory, but if you remain unembered and you are patient with each dog aggroing only one at a time, you should be golden. Combine these two with the Prisoner's Chain from the Soul of Champion Gundyr, which will increase your Vigor up to 32, your HP will go up a significant amount. From your original 1000 HP, you will now have 1203 HP, plus the extra stamina and equip load you get from the Chain and the Ring of Favor. And this is all without the upgraded versions of the Ring of Favor and the Life Ring. While the Ring of Favor +3 can be easily grabbed from a branch in the Ring and City DLC, the Life Ring +3 organically drops on New Game +3 behind Lothric's big chair in the Shrine. Unless you're willing to play through the game 3 times, you may need to DM a friend if you really want to be a nerd and get the +3 versions. Once you've become the quintessential gamer...
Adam, you're discovering the magic of Dark Souls. It's all stats, you see? It's a real RPG!
If you're at 27 Vigor, you're going to get 5 points from the Chain, you're going to have the Ring of Favor +3 and the Life Ring +3, and you'll end up with 1273 HP unembered. This number will only go higher the more Vigor you have, and thanks to the Chain, you only have to organically level up your Vigor to 35 in order to hit the soft cap of Vigor at 40. At which point, you will then get 1,414 HP. Every 100 points you add to your health bar, you are that much more likely at surviving the nastier ganks out there. Now, I'm not trying to say that every build should have these 3 rings always equipped, but what I am trying to demonstrate is that the gank squads out there are going to hit you, and you will get stun locked in some way, shape, or form. This bar, this red bar, dictates how many mistakes you can make before you get to see a loading screen. You have to always consider how much damage players will be doing to you at a particular level, and how much health you will need in order to survive making mistakes in the worst of situations. But again, create whatever build makes you have fun in this game. But please remember that Vigor, or whatever the game calls the health stat, is perhaps the most important stat that not only has an effect on you, but that also indirectly affects your co-invaders. By investing in this stat, you are also doing a service to your fellow reds, purples, and so on. This means that you can take a hit, and that you can survive for just long enough for the co-invader to make a move of their own. You get it? You got it. Vigor. Please and thank you. Now, let's talk co-invasions. In an attempt to simplify co-invasions down to their bare minimum, there are 3 different stages that you need to worry about: grouping up, the team fight, and the chase. These concepts are pretty self-explanatory, but for clarity's sake, we'll hit them up one at a time. In a smaller invasion, where you're the only invader, the only person you have to let down is yourself. The moment that a co-invader comes in is the moment that you're playing for a team. Every step is incredibly crucial in order to obtain success against the worst of ganks. Before any fight has started, you need to group up. And grouping up requires patience. There's nothing wrong with waiting for backup. If you just spawn into a world alone, and you know that there's a group of gankers just waiting to bash your brains out, be patient. Locate another co-invader and attempt to advance together. This may require a minute or two depending on whether or not the gankers have been actively killing invaders spawning in. If your co-invader has already engaged, do your best to assess the situation. You have to know when to hold your cards and when to fold your cards. Can you reach your co-invader in time? Will your help do them any good, or are they already dead as gone? Can you attempt to save your co-invader if you run there now? And if you and another co-invader do group up, be careful about any hasty attacks. Attacking too early could be ill-advised depending on the location, and whether or not there are any easy exits to retreat to if things do go south. Work with your co-invader to lure gankers to a more advantageous position. Use emotes or your overall body language to tell each other when to strike or when to retreat. When the fight starts, the time for patience is over, and it's time to be aggressive. Speaking of aggression, here's a big note for a lot of you co-invaders out there. If you want to use ranged attacks, like with a great bow, use them when it's appropriate and low risk for both you and your co-invader. For example, if you and your co-invader both have a great bow, by all means, team up and pelt gankers from a distance. It's hilarious, do it. But if you're chilling in the stands as your co-invader is currently getting targeted in a 4v1, you are actively letting your friend down. Once a gank has been engaged, it's time for action. Your invader will potentially get downed in mere seconds, and then you will be the one left alone and targeted by a 4v1. The difference is now is that you have much less of a chance than you did before. And you know, while I'm at it, let's go over 2 more things some of you co-invaders need to hear. Note number 2, don't attack co-invaders when they're wearing untrue rings. The untrue dark changes your color to be that of a host, and the untrue white changes that to a white phantom. If you lock on to these players, if their names are red, they are not a target. They are a friend who just wants to look cool. If their names are white, that's a host, phantom, or blue. Those are the ones you want to hit. Just because a co-invader isn't always red or purple doesn't mean that they're an enemy. Look before you press R1, please. Note number 3, don't try to befriend a gank. Solo hosts who don't know any better might need a friend once in a while to help them out. I get it, you want to be generous sometimes, and some hosts really do need the help. However, when there's a gank, it is not the time to be generous or friendly. If you do so and you leave your co-invaders to die, this is one of the most scummy actions you can do as a co-invader. Listen, you can bow or wave to show that you're not being salty or malicious, but if you encounter a situation where you don't want to fight a gank and they're actively hunting down an invader who desperately needs backup, the best thing that you can do is to black crystal out and give someone else the chance to help them. You are actively taking up an invader slot with your passivity. I'm not saying that you can't be kind to some hosts and phantoms out there, but in a dried-fingered world where fully loaded ganks are brutalizing every invader they see, consider what your presence, or lack thereof, is doing to your co-invaders. Please and thank you. When the team fight begins, it's time to be aggressive. Cautiously aggressive. Co-invaders are obviously outnumbered, but you have to even the odds as much as you possibly can. A lot can happen in a team fight, and a lot of it can happen really fast. You have to make split-second decisions that could even up the odds or just snowball into worse. Do your best to be an active presence in the team fight. If you can draw the attention of your opponents away from your teammate, you're actively doing your part to set up an opportunity for the both of you. You or the co-invader could potentially circle around and flank. You could strike and finish off the host while the phantoms are fumbling around with either you or the co-invader. While all this is happening, be sure it doesn't happen to you. Keep your head on a swivel. You can and will get flanked if you tunnel your vision too closely onto one particular target. Switching between unlocked and locked on play could prove to give you the most control over these kinds of fights. Keep constant tabs on the seat of your co-invader and the gankers too. If your co-invader needs help, work your way on over to them. If one of the gankers is trying to go for a heal, see if you can punish that. If your co-invader does fall, question whether or not you should remain fighting or retreat in order to get more backup. Also consider whether or not there's still PvE mobs still standing. Can you use them to your advantage? Can those PvE mobs potentially hit and kill invaders? Above all, having situational awareness is key. And being present. Don't retreat too soon and don't get too overly aggressive. Always look out for each other. If things are looking up and the two of you are starting to win, then comes the last stage, but most definitely not the least. If the host is left alone and all they have is you and the bonfire to run to, they could potentially run. And the biggest tip that I can give any of y'all at this point in time, always respect your co-invader's space. AKA, try not to hit your co-invader. If you and your co-invader are targeting the same person, this is where you have to be the most careful. You can friendly fire your co-invader. This is what separates gankers from invaders. Gankers have to pay absolutely no heed to their R1s and their spells and their charms, but co-invaders most certainly have to. Whereas it may take no brain cells in order to gank, it will take at least 2 brain cells from the two of you in order to tell your fingers not to hit your friend. You both want the host dead, and there are more ways than just attacking to assure the host does just that. Understand that if you have large, horizontal striking weapons, that it may be best not to use those specific attacks until you space yourself according to your co-invader. In the meantime, cut off any potential escape routes that the escaping host might be heading towards. Use different moves, play unlocked, or switch to another weapon with tighter hitboxes like a spear, a katana, or a thrusting sword. If you and your teammate persist long enough, you will get either a host of embers destroyed or rage quit. Then you will have won the day. But you see, a lot of this is theoretical. It's time to put it into the practical. I'm going to say this one more time for the people in the back. You don't have to be a tournament level duelist in order to be a good co-invader. You don't even have to have the most try-hard build in the game in order to be the best co-invader that you can possibly be. And I'm going to show you situations where this was exactly the case. Now for this first invasion that I want to show you, it's here in the archives. The moment I spawn in, the mobs are dead all around me. That's never a good sign. The host more than likely has gone into the level. Just instinctually I want to go further into the level just to see if the rest of the mobs have been cleared. We could be dealing with a cleared level situation, which is bad omen to be sure. And lo and behold, they're summoning another phantom. That's not really a good sign. I don't see mobs alive around me. Another co-invader now comes in. This is a dried finger world, and the rules of engagement have changed somewhat. I do see my co-invader fall off the bridge. He's going in another direction to that area just below me. I then see and leap into action the moment I see my co-invader and the two yellows appear. Now that they have advanced over to the shortcut and the red has gone over there as well, this is a unique opportunity to actually sandwich all four of them in between the two of us. The phantom with the paired ultra greatswords is right in front of me, and I could hit him first, but the more high priority targets are the casters themselves. And what do you know, it's always the casters that never level Vigor. I try to regroup with my co-invader who's gone further into the shortcut, but he's gone up the elevator. So at this exact moment, I can wait to call the elevator back down, but no, I figure that I need to retreat and wait for the co-invader to either make his way back down from the elevator or through another route entirely, and I need to link up with him ASAP. We've already dealt with one, bringing this 4v2 down to a 3v2. Now, combined, we have to go hunt for the host and phantoms now that they're down a man. We find them back at the bonfire, and here's where another team fight begins. This is a bit of a tricky situation. Paired ultra greatswords and a caster in the back. Then they're all doing quite a lot of damage as well. That was more than half of my health on that one lightning bolt. And it was at about this time when I started to think that we needed to change our plan of attack between me and my invader. The lock-on system almost had me hit him, and we kept getting zoned out by the lightning bolts, and the paired ultra greatswords was also keeping us at bay. With the huge ultra greatsword I was using, I didn't want to take the chance of hitting my co-invader. So at this point in time, I hatch a plan to try to divert the attackers away from each other. I sprint and roll on over to the elevator to see if it's opened, and by doing so, I gain the aggro of the host and the paired ultra greatswords, leaving my co-invader to sack the quarterback. Now the team fight can really begin as we're all circling around each other. I end up accidentally hitting my co-invader right here, but luckily he had perseverance, so it didn't end up hit stunning him at all. Almost get the yellow here. And the host himself ends up tanking a fully charged R2. GG's to my co-invader. This co-invasion is now won. And now, immediately spawning into Central Irithyll, I see the message that reads, "Summoning another phantom." That's both a good thing and a bad thing. Bad thing is because you just spawn into a world that's going to potentially have a 4-player gank in it, and a good thing because you will most certainly be getting back up in just a few moments. Well, here's hoping that people are actually playing Dark Souls 3 still. As I go down the path, there's the vigilant yellow waiting for the terrible red man to show up to potentially end their PvE experience. He's over leveled too, so that's when you know we're going to have a real good time here. I'm constantly trying to space out their movement. I don't want to engage just yet. I have to wait for that co-invader to come in. Now the odds have changed. We got PvE getting motivated as well. Suddenly they get a lot more scared than they were before. They are now retreating. But we have to use this momentum. As they beat up the PvE, it's time to leap into action and beat them up. The dynamics of the team fight is happening really fast, but I'm going to try to slow it down here as all 3 phantoms. Why does it have to take 3 phantoms to hit 1 PvE? I will never understand. But as I'm beating one of them, or 2 of them, or hell, all 3 of them at this point, my co-invader went over to put the backstab out on the host. Don't know how he pulled that off, but well done. All in the meanwhile, my co-invader is hitting the host. I am keeping the attention of all 3 of them. Now, one of them actually gets the clue, runs away from me, and goes to help his host. I see my co-invader's in a bit of trouble now that the second phantom went over to help him. As I'm constantly looking over there, I'm unsure if maybe he can take all the heat. Should I come over there and draw the heat off of him? I've got my hands full with these 2 right here, but I'm putting a lot of trust in my co-invader to deal with the host and that other phantom there while I try to kill at least one or both of these people. I get a little bit greedy in taking all these R1s next to me, but with enough poise, I'm able to put on the real big hurt of both of these phantoms, undoubtedly eating up a lot of their Estus. But I'm also continuously drawing them away from their host and phantom friend into the PvE to give myself more of a chance. Every hit I do counts, because that's potentially more Estus that they have to waste. Right here, I get so close to killing them. Just one more R1 would have done him in, but his friend was able to save him. Again, I keep playing locked and unlocked just to both roll out of danger and to go right back in it. But then I see the sorry message of my co-invader's death. Now things have turned a little bit for the worse. What is one able to do in a situation like this? In a dried finger world, you can still wait for another co-invader to come in. It will take about a minute or so. So until then, what I'm doing is I'm still keeping on the pressure. I'm doing as much damage as I can to each of these phantoms, potentially maybe to kill one. But it's rough. It's rough. You're still one lone player fighting against 4 players who can't hit each other and who are levels far above you. And they're killing PvE relatively easily is what they're doing. And finally, I caught one slipping. Oh, what's that music to my ears? Well, it's the co-invader that I had before. Shout out to the co-invader, by the way. He is Ghost Hardware. He is a very great human and individual. As we watch the dynamics of what's happening into this fight, the Fire Witch in the back actually hits the host up into the air. I see that my co-invader is getting hit. I go in to draw the heat off of him, and I actually catch one of the phantoms in a 3-hit stun with the Ultra Greatsword. Now the fight has become a 2v2, much more manageable. The phantom that's left is actually the one that we met with in the beginning, and I already got a bad feeling that he was potentially the best one out of all of them. He is consciously helping his host out, Right here, I'd make the mistake of pressing R1 right next to where my co-invader is. Again, you have to be careful with your attacks as to not hit your teammate. Every hit you do on your teammate is potentially an Estus wasted on friendly fire. Do not do that. He is consciously trying to go around me, as he doesn't want to fight me. He wants to save his host, and at this point I've had enough. He has been dodging my ultra great swords for a while, and I was able to tunnel him down with the Millwood battle axe. Here's another quick tip. Try not to emote until the invasion is over. You're short-sighting yourself. You have to pay attention to what's going on, because you could potentially lose your co-invader because you were so busy emoting at the corpse of a phantom you just killed. Don't do that. I just did that. That was a mistake on my part. Now the two of us, me and my co-invader, can rush down this host as he's also getting blown up by the fire witch. Oh, just good times. We do end up getting the host. A slight error on my part though. I used the charged attack to try and catch a roll off of him, which ends up missing altogether. However, my co-invader used the weapon art of the flamberge to get him as he rolled. I ended up hitting my co-invader, but luckily he had the poise and the vigor to take such a hit. That's another co-invasion one. Also note that I switched to the axe because of its weapon art, which can actively stun an opponent as you rush toward him. It also has a shorter hitbox compared to the Ultra Greatsword. Again, the big point while you're in a fight and while you're chasing down a host, do not hit your co-invader if you want to kill the host. And here we spawn into the Ringed City. Meta level Ringed City, by the way. I'm using a Heisel pick to further state the point that while having good weapons and good armor and all that can really help bring down opponents, like using the Herald curved greatsword, like using the Lothric Knight straight sword, and so on and so forth, even if you use an off-meta brand weapon like the Heisel pick, you can still be a good co-invader. Right now, what's going on is, at the moment, all that's here is me, a host, and two phantoms. So this could just be a one-off invasion. I could just be by myself here. So the tactics I'm using at the moment is just slowly whittling them down as they go through Ringed City. I'm really waiting for one of the Herald Knights to jump in as I shoot spells at them. I'm really waiting for an opportunity that the Herald Knights could do a lot of damage at once while I'm slowly picking them off with my spells here. And then at that moment, when a blue spawns in, I know that this is a drive finger world. Another co-invader can come in. Now my goal is to survive long enough for the co-invader to come in. Now this gank has come especially prepared. One of the phantoms has Seething Chaos. Now that won't be doing any damage to me, as I can avoid that, but it will be doing damage to the Herald Knights that could just simply walk into it. One of the phantoms is using Avalon. That's not a good sign. Now the phantoms are jumping onto the Herald Knights, doing plunge attacks. At that moment, my co-invader does come in. Things are looking a little bit up, Millhouse. The host suddenly appears. Hi, good to see you, host. Try to shoo him away, wondering where my co-invader would come in. Here we see a phantom die and the blue die at this moment in time. And here comes the co-invader, using a great sword and all that. Here's a very crucial point, and I'm going to slow this one down. The Herald procs his tears, and I use a great Farron Dart to finish that off. However, at the same time, the Herald Knight then swings again to proc the tears of my invader. And at this exact moment, the host begins throwing knives at him. Now, even if you can't heal him, you can, however, be the best teammate you can be and throw your body directly into the way of the knives being thrown as I'm doing here, to make sure that my co-invader is able to get the heal off, and now it has become a 2v1. In a span of just 1 minute, a 4v1 became a 1v2. This invasion is still up in the air because that Herald Knight is swinging randomly. The host now wants some mean parries. We are able to proc the tears on him. I start shooting Great Farron Dart to get him to roll, and my co-invader is able to use those same knives that the host was trying to use on him back at her. And just like that, just because of the split decision I made in order to block the knives away from my co-invader, gave him the time to heal and gave him the opportunity to throw knives back at the host to kill them. And now for our last co-invasion. This one holds a special place in my heart, this one's for sure. I spawn once again into the Ringed City, and now I see two things. I see that a phantom's been summoned, and my co-invader is right next to me, right behind a wall. I have no reason why this is the case for my co-invader, but the co-invader was more than likely waiting right here for backup. As I actually walk in through the door, I look behind me to see if the co-invader is actually still there and not AFK, but no, he clearly was waiting for me to advance together. As we both go further in, the host and potentially the rest of his 3 phantoms aren't here at the bonfire. Trying to look for where the host and phantoms are. I'm wondering maybe if they're going to the Medir boss room fog. But here we actually don't see the Ringed Knight that's usually posted up here. We see 1 phantom. Now we see 2 phantoms, now we see 3, and now we see the host. They're all here. They don't want to fight the Spears of the Church. They're most definitely here to gank. Now here's something incredibly crucial. I want to fight with them, but I notice that the co-invader hasn't gone up as far as I have. I keep looking back to notice that my co-invader isn't actively engaging alongside as me. I'm watching his body language to notice that he actually wants to go backwards into the level, and I kind of wonder what that is. I'm a bit confused as to why he wants to go back. So we go back into this center statue room, and I notice from his movement that he wants to go into the door to go down to the Medir's bridge. Now, this is a good funneling position to get a few hits up on the phantoms, but one of the phantoms notices where we're going and tries to cut us off down the way. Co-invader's being hit a lot here. And I'm thinking that the co-invader maybe wants to go down to the bridge because that's going to open up a lot more opportunities for us. So I exit the room as one of the phantoms tries to follow me. I make the big error of swinging 3 times with the Ultra Greatsword, and the phantom here is able to get a Hornet Ring backstab and tries to hit me with a Wake Up. I say no to that, my good sir. And right now it's a 1v1. My co-invader has actually given me the opportunity to try to finish off this dude while he has 3 other people occupied. If I can kill this dude, a 4v2 becomes a 3v2. Now, again, I make the clear mistake here, and I cannot say this enough. Put this picture up on a wall and frame it. I'm emoting and I see that my co-invader is actively being hurt. Do not let this be the case. I roll back into action because I realize, oh damn, he needs some help. I need to get in there. And it's at this point that I see the true mastermind plan of my co-invader. He wanted to go back into this room because, you know those turtle dudes that have the AoE spells? They put him on the ground, does a lot of damage if you stand on near it. He knew. And now thinking back, this guy must have been an absolute brain genius from coming down here, and what all I can do is follow through on his plan. I get right behind one of these phantoms, and the same trick with the phantom Suddenly, a 4v2 has become a 2v2, and a turtle dude in the background constantly throwing stuff at the host and phantom. What was obviously a menacing gank before has just crumpled down to just 2 people. Turns out this ends up being the Phantom. He goes back to try to help his host, who's over here with the shield, by trying to backstab the co-invader. At this exact moment right here, as I lock onto the host, I try to hit him, but at the last second I notice that the co-invader ends up rolling right next to the host, right into my line of fire. At the last moment, I unlock and move my attack away as to not to hit my co-invader. And I end up getting an R2 as he probably forgot to dodge. I do clap for his bravery, and I do notice that my co-invader expertly took out the host with, lo and behold, a Morning Star, a small little mace. He was able to do all of this work beforehand with just that mace. He was the MVP. Like I said, you don't have to show up with a big weapon that I had, like the Fume, or show up with the most meta weapon like the Lothric Knight Straight Sword or whatever. He just showed up with a mace, and he was able to do work with it. Albeit, he also had the big-brained plan of coming down to the turtle dude over here. But with all of this involvement from us two, and the PvE, we were able to make what was once a very impossible situation, very possible. At this point, you guys get it. Always group up, be present in the team fight, and always respect your friend's space when you begin the chase. Take these tips into mind as you go into co-invasions now, in either this game or games in the future. You don't have to get the game-winning kill, but you can do your part in order for that kill to even happen. And now, that's about it for me. I would like to give one big shout out to Verdahta. He's the one who made the intro just utterly as spectacular as it is. If you consider yourself a fan of the Dark Souls machinimas, you will not go wrong with Verdahta. If you like Inferno Plus, Dusty Dodongo, Take, Verdahta is an underrated gem. Honestly, the fact that Verdahta only has a little more than 1,000 subscribers is criminal. Go check out his stuff right now. Please, I implore you. Also, I want to shout out some other YouTubers as well. SaintRiot, Judas, Nif, I Am Amish, Skitter the Tryhard. In the description will be a list of videos that can help you with your invasion game and how to coordinate with other co-invaders, how to parry, how to backstab properly, which weapons to choose for the right situations, all of that. If you want to have more of a chance for taking on those tougher and meaner ganks out there, by all means go ahead and check out the description. And check out Verdahta too, please, he's really good. If you made it to this point, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Besides Elden Ring, a whole new decade is approaching us, y'all. We're going to be living in the 2020s soon enough, and none of us are getting any younger. As we head into this decade, tell someone you care about them and that you think about them. None of us know what the next 10 years are going to bring, but be sure to bring the people that you care about along with you. You're going to need them. Take care of each other and take care of yourselves. I'll see you when I see you next.